Hello there, happy Money Monday, and welcome back to another episode of the Empowered and Abundant podcast. Today is a super special, magical day. I am so excited for this episode because we're going to be talking about aligned strategic action with the power of your money. This is something that I talk about in my 5 steps to living an abundant life and creating abundance. In the very first episode of this podcast, I talk about those 5 steps. And the 5th step is really using your money strategically in alignment with the life you want to live so that your money becomes a tool to manifest and create your most abundant life. But I have people ask me questions about this step. What does it actually look like? What does it actually mean? And so I wanted to use this whole episode to go deeper on specifically this step. What does it actually look like to use your money strategically in alignment with the life you want to live? And we're going to dive all into that with different examples for no matter where you're at on your journey. Before we dive in, I have to let you know I'm really excited because today is a really special day, because today enrollment is officially open for the next group round of Empowered Abundance. This round will be starting on April 30th, and enrollment is only open for a few weeks. So if you've heard me talk about Empowered Abundance, if it's been in the back of your mind, if you're somebody who wants to take your relationship with money to the next level, if you're ready to powerfully step into your next level of abundance, live your most abundant life, do the work that you love, and be able to support yourself financially with that work, with your money helping you and supporting you on that journey instead of holding you back, then Empowered Abundance is the program for you. And for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be offering free consultations where we can explore exactly what Empowered Abundance will look like for you, how it can support you on your journey. And I'm there to support you in deciding if now is the right time or if this program is the best fit. So if you've been curious and if you're ready to explore this further and take the next step, you can use the link in the show notes below to book a free consultation with me, or go to my website, thebizhippie.com/abundance. But without further ado, let's dive into today's topic: how to actually use your money strategically in alignment with the life you want to live. And what does this actually look like? Now, to put it in the simplest terms, when I imagine doing this and taking this step, the way that I like to describe it is it's spending your money in alignment with the future that you want to live and your future self. So one of the other steps that I teach before this, when it comes to the 5 steps to living your abundant life, is tapping into the vision, getting really clear on what your most abundant life looks like, what your vision looks like, the life you really want to be living, and what is most important to you. There is a future life of abundance that you are stepping into and creating, and also there is a version of you living that life. There is a version of you who is living in that vision, that next level abundant version of you. So the simplest terms of using your money strategically in alignment with the life you want to live is, how would your future self spend that money? When you step into your abundant life, that vision life, how do you wield your money? How do you spend your money? And that's one of the easiest ways to tap into this. But then also we have to, so there's the version of stepping into that life, into that reality, and spending your money like you would in that vision as your abundant self in alignment with what is most important. But then also we have to flash back to where we currently are starting from. We have this starting point of our current reality, and then we have the vision of the life that you want to live. And there's a set of actions and steps from here that will get you there. And so, how can you use your money very intentionally and consciously in the direction of the life that you want to be living? How can every single time you spend money, every dollar that you spend, everything you choose to say yes to or choose to say no to, how can you make sure that all of that is moving you in the direction of your vision? And this is true for small spends, small things you spend your money on, but also big spends. Every time you spend your money on big things like big investments or in your business, in coaching and support, or something else. It could be getting a certification. It could be traveling and attending retreats, whatever it is. Or it could be as small as, do you buy that coffee? Do you go shopping? What grocery store do you go to? Big or small spends, it's checking in with every single dollar you spend and seeing, is this in alignment with my vision? Is this in alignment with what is genuinely most important to me? Because that's a big part about getting clear on your vision. It's not just what do you do? How do you spend your time? How do you live? It's what do you value? What do you prioritize? What is most important? And how can you make sure that every single time you spend money, it's moving you in that direction? Because every single time you spend money, it is a choice. It is you choosing what is most important to you. What are you prioritizing? And every single time you say yes to something with your money, you're also saying no to a bunch of other things with your money. And vice versa. Every time you say no to something with your money, you're also simultaneously saying yes to something else with your money. But we don't always think about it that way. We're only focusing on one or the other. We're only focusing on the things we can't have, the things we can't do, or we're focusing on only what we are choosing in moments when we're spending money, as opposed to noticing the flip sides of these coins and noticing, what am I saying yes to? What am I saying no to, and why? Is it in alignment with the life I want to live? And is it moving me forward in the direction that I want to go? Now, here's an important caveat, because sometimes people hear this and they think, okay, yeah, spend my money in alignment with the life I want to live, spend as my future abundant self. So therefore, I'm just going to say yes to every single thing that I want with no regard for money, because I'm abundant and I don't have to worry about money, and I'm just going to trust that it's all going to work out. So I'm going to say yes to the coffee, and yes to the dinners out, and yes to the luxurious shopping, and yes to the travel, and yes to the business investments. This is not what I'm talking about. This is not what I'm talking. Using your money in alignment with your vision is different than saying yes to everything with no regard or consideration for the money that you do have. This is actually a false sense of abundance. It's a false sense of abundance to ignore your money completely, just throw it around in a variety of different directions and trust and hope that it works out. Because the truth is that we all have some form of limitation around our money. And many of us, especially when we talk about abundance, we don't want to be limited. We don't want to be restricted. We want to have enough money that we can say yes to everything without having to think twice about it. But that is just an inaccurate picture of reality. The truth is, even if you were a multi-millionaire or billionaire, you still have a certain amount of money that you're working with and that you get to make decisions with. Now, granted, you can do a lot with that amount of money and not necessarily suffer the consequences if you make big purchases or make big mistakes. But we see this all the time. People who make a lot of money in a short amount of time, and then they end up going bankrupt. They end up spending it all because they just very luxuriously say yes to every single thing they want and need, and then they run out of money, even when they think they have enough that they won't run out of it. So the truth is that we often do have limitations when it comes to money. No matter how much you have, there's some level of limitation and restriction. But that's okay. It's actually part of abundance to have limitation and restriction. It's not in conflict with abundance, because I believe that the fact that we do have limitations when it comes to money makes every single dollar that you do have and do choose to spend be all the more powerful. Limitation gives power and value to your money, and therefore also to the choices that you make. The example that I love to give all the time is if we look at time. If, for example, you knew you only had 24 hours to live, you would spend each of those 24 hours very intentionally, very consciously. You would make sure that that one day was the best day of your life. You would choose what is genuinely most important to you, and you would prioritize all of those things. You'd probably leave a job that's misaligned. You'd probably spend time with family or loved ones. You'd do that thing on your bucket list you always wanted to do, but you never thought was possible. You would do what is most important, and therefore, because of the limitation, that day, those hours, those minutes become the best day. It increases the quality, it increases the value, it increases the impact of every single minute. And you could do more in that 24 hours than someone else could do in 24 years. Versus if you had an infinite amount of time to live. If there was no death and you were immortal and you just had infinite time, infinite energy, this is where the minutes, the hours, the days, they become less potent. They become less important. They become less valuable. And a lot of time starts going to things that are not important. For example, you do stay in that job that's misaligned. You spend a lot of time watching shows that aren't even really that good and just binging TV. You keep those things that are on your bucket list on the back burner and off in the future, thinking yeah, someday I will do this, but I have plenty of time. It'll get done eventually. And if we look at a 24-hour period in a life that is infinite, in time that is infinite, that 24 hours, it's less valuable. There's a lot of wasted time there because there's no limitation, because there's no restriction. So to me, the fact that there is finiteness, the fact that there is a limited amount of money that we are all currently working with at this particular moment in time, that is actually what creates abundance. That is actually what creates the value, because it gives power to every single dollar that you spend, because every choice becomes potent. And so again, going back to, I'm not saying go ahead and spend a bunch of money on what you think your future self wants and just say yes with no regard to the money that you have. No, that's a false sense of abundance. Versus abundance is a bound dance. It is a dance within the boundaries of this life that we are living, within the boundaries of the money and the finances that we do have, within the time that we have, within the energy that we have. And the fact that there are boundaries makes the dance all the more beautiful and all the more powerful. A bound dance is potent versus a dance that doesn't have boundaries. So if I'm not saying just go spend money on everything that you want, what am I saying? What I am saying is that every single time you do spend money, you are making a choice. You're choosing something that is important to you, and at the same time, you're also saying no to a bunch of other things. And when we see that our money is limited or finite, that can help us zone in and make sure that the choices we are making with our money are in alignment with the life we actually want to be living. And that means saying yes to what is most important, but it also means saying no to the things that aren't. even if there are things that we want, but if they're not the priority, if they're not really getting us to the vision of the life we want to live, then it also means saying no to those things. Because the truth is that you can say yes to anything with your money. You can make any choice you want to make with your money. You just have to find the way to do it. And in order to find that way, it means sacrificing or saying no to anything else that is not that thing, so that you can create that life, so that you can create that vision. And sometimes that does mean sacrificing. For example, if you wanted to make a really big investment that's important to you. So for like just an arbitrary example, say you wanted to go on a big trip and travel was the most important to you, and this was really significant to your heart, like it was meaningful, it felt really important. It's in alignment with your vision. Travel is your highest value, and it's really expensive. It's like really expensive, and on the one hand, you could think like, oh, I really can't afford it, so I'm going to say no. But on the other hand, if that is your highest value, if that is most in alignment with your vision and the life you really want to be living, what are you willing to say no to in order to make this decision? And you could go really extreme on this. You could sell your furniture. You could stop eating out. You could buy the cheapest groceries ever and just like eat very, very affordably. You could sell your home and start like backpacking if you really wanted to, right? So there's so many options. I'm not necessarily saying go do all of those things, but what I am saying is there is a way. There is a way to invest and make the financial choices that are genuinely most important to you. And yes, that means saying no to other things or sacrificing in other areas. But for me, I don't see that as sacrificing, because it's getting to choose what is most in alignment with your vision and therefore bringing that vision to life. So for example, what this looks like for me is I highly value my business. My business is my greatest value, and it has been for almost 6 years at this point. And when I first started my business back in 2020, I was highly committed to making it work and it being successful no matter what, even though I didn't really know how it was going to pan out. And I felt like a huge risk. I literally felt like a crazy person. I wasn't making any money. And at the same time, I had opportunities to invest in my business, to invest in my growth, to invest in skill sets and trainings and learning in multiple ways. And so for me, because my business and also traveling are my highest values, I was willing to give everything that I possibly could to invest in growing my business. And that meant driving a very old car. My first car was given to me by my mother. It was a 1999 Toyota Camry, and I drove that car until someone hit me and it was totaled. And I would have kept driving that car. That car had over 300,000 miles, and I had no intentions of getting rid of it or getting a new car. I was willing to drive that car. And granted, now I still had a 2003 Honda for many, many years in my business. And I didn't care. I was like, this is the car I'm driving, because getting a new car or a different car is not a priority for me. Same for like, I very rarely eat out. I don't get coffee out. I don't get my nails done. Haven't gotten my nails done in years. And I sacrificed in other ways. I sacrificed by having to go work at a restaurant and wait tables so I could make money, so I could, one, like just pay my basic bills, but also so that I could continue to invest in my business in big ways. And so for me, I was willing to sacrifice buying clothes from stores, and instead once a year I would go to Savers and get like used clothes, and that was fine for me. Like, I did all of those things gladly. For me, it didn't feel like a sacrifice. For me, it didn't feel like I had to give up things that were important to me. I mean, it was a little hard with going back to the restaurant and deciding to wait tables, but once I wrapped my mind around it and I said, yeah, I am willing to do this for the sake of my vision, for the sake of my business, for the sake of my future, it is a worthy sacrifice. And it's a sacrifice that I am willing to make, and therefore it doesn't feel like a sacrifice. So every single time you spend money, every single time you choose something, it's looking at what are you choosing and why are you choosing that. Now, I'm not saying that the way that I did it is the right way. If there are things that are important to you, like coffee and dining out or shopping, like whatever, you get to choose what is most important to you, what is most in alignment with your vision, what you value, what you prioritize. Only you know what is best for your money and what is most in alignment for you. I can only speak for me and say, like, yeah, travel in my business was the most important things for me, and therefore I made sure my money was in alignment with that. And I proved that with every single dollar I did spend and every single dollar I did not spend every month. And I've witnessed this with my clients too. I've witnessed my clients go from having shopping habits or having routines of getting their nails done regularly or having habits of getting coffee out regularly. And we don't have these conversations and say like, hey, you have to stop spending on this, because that doesn't really work to just quit cold turkey. But what has to happen is you have to see the vision that you're creating and building. And once you can see that really clearly and believe that that vision is worth it, then it's easy to let things go that are no longer important to you. And I've seen this click with my clients in beautiful ways where I've had clients like stop getting coffee because they want to build an emergency fund because they're sick of stressing out about money, and they know in their vision they have an emergency fund because that's a financial foundation that helps them live their most abundant life, is having money saved for emergencies. I've watched clients stop spending money on things that isn't really important to them so that they can start paying off their credit card debt, because building the financial foundations of not having debt, not having interest, not having the weight of credit cards is part of living their most abundant life. And the truth is that a lot of this in the beginning isn't fun. It's not, I'm not talking about like, yeah, go spend money on all the fun things you want, be abundant. No, sometimes it really is building the more mundane, less exciting financial foundations like an emergency fund, business investments, crushing credit card debt, saving for retirement, because that is part of your abundant vision. That is the foundation to living your most abundant life. And yeah, there's parts of us that think like, oh, I wish I didn't have to do this. It's not fun. It's not exciting. I don't want to put a bunch of money towards credit cards. But when we can see those choices with money as part of the vision, it's worth it. It becomes worth it to align your money with the vision of the life that you want to live. And instead of focusing on the things that you can't do with your money, you have to allow yourself to see, what are you choosing? What are you prioritizing? What are you creating? And what can you do with the money that you have? Because every single time you spend money, you are making a choice about what is most important to you and the kind of life you want to live. So what are you choosing and what are you creating as a result? Are you just living for this present moment? Or are you living for your abundant vision? And sometimes that does mean sacrificing or giving up something now. Now, you might be thinking like, okay, Scarlett, but what if I really don't have a lot of money? What if I'm like just barely scraping by? I don't have like money to really play with in terms of putting money towards my vision and putting money towards creating my next level of abundance. I have a really great story that's a perfect example of this. So this is actually about my mother. When I was growing up, I was raised by a single mom, very, very low income, but my mom was very resourceful. And my mom came from a pretty traumatic background in childhood, so she had a lot of her own issues and was therefore creating unfortunate patterns and habits in her own life. And then eventually she hit her own breaking point and realized that she needed personal growth, and she discovered personal growth and began her own personal growth journey. Now, granted, she was a single mom with 2 young kids. She fed all 3 of us on $25 a week. That's what we had for a grocery budget, and we had to stretch that. But she got to the point where she realized she needed personal growth. Otherwise, she couldn't afford not to. She got to the breaking point and realized there was literally no other choice. It was personal growth or nothing, because she could not continue to keep living the way that she was living. And so she found her first mentor, Bill Harris, who I love and I talked about in my podcast episode, 3 Secrets to My Success, I rarely talk about. And Bill Harris had these programs, courses that he offered. And at the time, they would get mailed to us on cassette tapes or CDs, and they were just audio, and we would listen to them in the car when we were driving. And I don't know exactly how much each course cost, but it was between $200 and $300. And at the time, for my mother, feeding all 3 of us on $25 a week, that was a lot of money, and it was money that she didn't have and couldn't afford to spend. But she knew that getting the personal growth help that she needed was in alignment with her vision and was necessary in order to step into her vision. It was hard to choose that and prioritize that, but she knew that that's what would create her abundant life. So what did she do? She found creative ways to save up a little bit of money month over month, right? By making choices of where can I cut out $1 or so here? Where can I not spend money there? Where can I pull together some extra money by not choosing this, that, or the other? And then over the course of several months, she would finally have the $200 or $300 that she needed so that she could make the investment in the Bill Harris course that she needed. That's what I'm talking about. That's what it looks like to spend your money in alignment with the life you really want to be living. Sometimes it is really fun where you're saying yes, I'm making this choice, I'm making this investment, I'm choosing my future, but sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it means saying no to things that you want now for the sake of investing in your future. And sometimes investing in your future isn't necessarily fun or exciting. I'm sure there was parts of my mom that was oh, I wish I didn't have to spend this money on Bill Harris. I'd rather go on a trip or something. I'd rather have time off for my kids. I don't know what she would have wanted, but instead, she knew that that was most in alignment with the life she wanted to live. And therefore, she was willing to sacrifice in many ways in order to spend that money to create her vision and bring that to life. And again, this is a skill that's built up over time, especially when I first started investing in my business. I made investments. I chose to invest in my first coach, and it was a lot of money for me at the time. But over time, as you continue to wield your money in this way, as you continue to grow and step into your vision and step into your next level of abundance, then you can make bigger and bigger investments in yourself. And suddenly, someday you'll wake up and you'll realize, I am living my abundant life, and therefore it was all worth it, even if it meant giving up or sacrificing or being just really conscious and intentional with my money. Now, I had a conversation recently with somebody who is interested in joining the Empowered Abundance program, because in that conversation, that's exactly what we are talking about, is choosing how are you going to spend your money in alignment with the life you want to live. And for the people that I have conversations with, often Empowered Abundance is the next step to create their vision, to step into their next level of abundance. And often when it comes to making these decisions with our money, the thing that can hold us back is often less about the money. Yes, we have to make decisions with our money and with our investments, but like I said earlier, there's always a way to make the next investment, the next choice, the next decision with your money that is most important to you, even if it means going and waitressing tables, even if it means saving up months over months, even if it means like selling furniture or, doing some crazy things and saying no to other things. There's always a way to do it. There's always a way to create the money, to make the choice, to prioritize this next step over all else. And so the thing that actually holds us back, and I talked about this in this conversation with this woman, was it wasn't really about the money. The money was just the disguise for what was really holding her back, which was a sense of being worthy to step into her next level of success, believing in herself that the big dreams, the big vision, the big impact she wanted to make, that she was actually worth it, that she was deserving of it. There was a fear of being able to actually step into what she desires. There was a fear of fully believing in herself, fully believing that she would follow through on this work, that she would go all the way, that she would get the results. And then what would happen if she did? What would that mean? What would her life look like? What would she have to give up? What would have to change in order for her to actually live her vision, to actually become the person that she was meant to be? And so the resistance for her was less of the finances, and it was more of everything within her, protecting her, keeping her safe, and keeping her where she is. Now, don't get me wrong. When you're investing in yourself in bigger ways and making choices for your future, like investing in empowered abundance, the financial risk is real. It is present. It can feel scary. It can feel intimidating to spend and invest larger and larger amounts of money in your vision, towards your vision. But what those financial risks does is it brings up the real gunk under the surface. Because if there's always a way, if there's always a choice to make it happen, whatever it is, it's just a matter of why are you willing to do that, or why aren't you? And is this really in alignment with your vision? And are you willing to make the choices that are most in alignment with your vision, even if it means sacrificing or facing your biggest fears or overcoming doubts in other areas? That's what we have to do. And this is why this step of using your money strategically in alignment with the life you want to live is so powerful. Because not only is it wielding your money as a tool to create the life you want to live every single day, with every single dollar you spend and every single financial choice you make, what it also does is it forces you to grow as a person. It forces you to align yourself with your vision and be the kind of person who is willing and ready to make those different financial choices, right? Whether that's stopping spending on shopping so you can invest in an emergency fund, whether that's changing your priorities, changing how you spend so you can crush credit card debt, whether it's being willing to work at a restaurant or save up money so you can invest in your business and invest in your growth and invest in your future, right? It changes who you are on the inside to truly wield your money as a tool to bring your vision to life. Which is why I love the consultations that I have for Empowered Abundance, because being able to invest in Empowered Abundance requires you to take the risk on yourself, to take the risk on your vision, to take the risk on your business, to take the risk on your most abundant life. You have to believe that your vision is worth it. You have to believe that your next level of abundance is worth it. You have to believe that it's going to work. You have to trust me, but especially you have to trust yourself that you're going to show up, to follow through, to put in your all, that you will make it work, that you will get the results that you are investing in, that you are paying for. You have to choose it, even if it means sacrificing in other areas, because that next step is important to you. It is the important next step to creating your vision, and you have to believe that, and you have to believe that it's worth sacrificing for. In order to invest in empowered abundance, you have to believe that your next level of abundance is possible and that it is worth it. Those are all the things that I talk about with people on consultations, because it's not just about choosing to spend money, it's choosing to believe that all of these things are true. And what happens when you do believe all of these things are true? When you believe you're worthy of success, when you believe you're ready to harness your money and step into your next level of abundance, when you believe your next level of abundance is possible, that you're ready for it, that you're committed to it, that you're going to get there, and then you bet your money on it, when you choose to make the investment, that is the most powerful decision that you can make, because that's when you lock it in. That's when you lock in and affirm the belief, yes, I am worth it. Yes, my next level of abundance is possible, and I am choosing it now with the money that I am spending. And that's when you quantum leap into your next level of abundance, because the money, the commitment makes it real. And this is why a lot of people hold off on investing in empowered abundance, even when they know that it is the next step for them, when it is an alignment for them, and there's a fear that comes up. It's okay if it happens, but that's the difference between someone who makes the investment and someone who doesn't, is the level of belief, the level of readiness, the level of commitment, and that moment that you do invest, that you do make the choice, that you do bet your money on your vision with the choices that you do make every single day. That's exactly what brings that vision to life. Every single financial decision that you make, big or small, is a choice. So when you look at how you're currently spending your money, what are you choosing today with every single penny, every single dollar? What are you affirming? And therefore, what kind of life are you creating right now as a result? And how can you start to move your money towards your future, towards your vision, towards the life that you truly want to be living? How can you say yes to that by also saying no to everything else that is not that? And that is the lesson that I want you to take away from this episode. And if you're looking for one of the most powerful ways that you can do that, then Empowered Abundance is a great place to start. Because when you invest in Empowered Abundance, you are investing in your abundance, and you are investing in learning how to become somebody who is able to wield their money powerfully in alignment with the life they want to live. When you make the first investment, you are stepping into this identity. You are becoming somebody who wields their money powerfully. But then through our time of working together, you anchor that in. You become somebody who has the skill to wield their money powerfully as a tool to manifest their vision with the power of their money. Empowered Abundance is not for the faint of heart. It's for someone who's ready to take all of your personal growth to the next level. This is boss level personal growth and development. This is next level vision creating. This is harnessing your money. This is transforming your relationship with money from the inside out. It's one of the deepest levels of personal growth and development you can do, and it is literally the foundation to creating your vision and bringing your next level of abundance into reality. That's exactly what I'm talking about here with Empowered Abundance. If you're ready to expand in a really big way, and you're ready to have money support you in that process and be on your side and be on your team, then right now enrollment is open for the next round. And now is the perfect time to have this exact conversation that we've been talking about today. The conversation of, are you ready to choose this? Is this most in alignment with your vision? And are you able to find the way to say yes to it if it is? And that's the conversation I'm here to support you in on these consultations. I'm here to help you decide what is most in alignment with your vision. I will break down exactly how Empowered Abundance can support you. I'm here to help you make the most aligned decision whether or not to invest in this. And if it is, I'll support you in overcoming anything that wants to hold you back so you can lock this in and quantum leap into your vision with the power of your money through the decision to invest and say yes. If you're feeling the call, you can book a free consultation with me using the link in the show notes below, or go to my website, thebizhippie.com/abundance. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in to this week's episode. Have a great rest of your Money Monday, and I will see you next week.